वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशधारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। हरे कृष्ण। श्याम मुकुंद कृष्ण विहरि प्रभु।
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada.
How are you? You are able to see the screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So, minute. We have to hear.
We have to do the commentary, Prabhu.
Commentary
That
of
is,
the. We will first
pending.
do the
That was
commentary in the last part.
yeah.
Read the commentary. A further objection is proposed by the Advaitavadi interpreters. They admit that the pleasure derived by the Kumaras was certainly superior to Brahmananda, but then it resulted from concentrated Brahman, that is the form of the Lord, and not from anything other than Brahman, such as the Swarupa Shakti of the Lord. So the Advaitavadas, they are saying that the pleasure which the Kumaras experience, it's nothing but the same Brahmananda, but in a more condensed form, concentrated form. So they say that just as Brahman is experienced in the pure heart, the form of the Lord, which is nothing but solidified Brahman, can also be experienced in the pure heart. The extra pleasure derived is due to the upadhi present in the concentrated form. Minute. So, according to the Advaitavada understanding, when the Brahman is limited by certain upadhis, then it results in the personal form of the Lord. So they say that the extra pleasure which the Kumaras experience is because of the upadhi present in the concentrated form. So, little more explanation. There is no actual difference between water and ice. Like ice is, according to Advaitavada, this one, the Kumaras, when they experience the form of Vishnu, that form of Vishnu is nothing but the concentrated Brahman, condensed Brahman. It's like a condensed form of water as the ice. They say that it's the same Brahmananda, but in a concentrated form they experienced. Just like there is no actual difference between water and ice. But in certain circumstances, like in the heat of the summer, ice gives more pleasure. Similarly, there is no difference between the Brahman and the Bhagavan, but his personal form may sometimes appear more attractive. Just like the ice appears to give more pleasure in summer times. However, this is the argument of the Advaitavadis explained with an analogy. However, water becomes solid owing to the upadhi of coolness. It is not its natural state. Ice is not a natural state of the water. Because you are condensing the water, then it has become ice. So similarly, they may say that Bhagavan is not the natural state. When the Brahman is limited by the upadhis, it has become the Bhagavan. So when a jnani has a soft heart, Brahman appears to him in a personal form. But the ultimate reality remains as the unqualified Brahman. These are the arguments of the Advaitavadis. So this, the Advaitavadis claim, is the significance of the scriptural statements that propound the identity of Brahman and Bhagavan. So this explanation has the beauty of philosophical brevity, because there is no need to accept any complicating factor or extra item like the Swarupa Shakti. See, what is the Vaishnava understanding? Brahman is the absolute truth without the Shaktis. Bhagavan is the absolute truth with the Shaktis, with the Swarupa Shakti. In the Vaishnava understanding, which is based on the scripture, the Supreme Absolute Truth has multifarious energies. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. So many multifarious energies are there of the Absolute Truth. That aspect of the Absolute Truth without the energies is called as the Brahman. So, but the Advaitavadis, they don't want to accept the energies of the Absolute Truth. They say the ultimate reality is only the unqualified Brahman. So sometimes when the jnani has a soft heart, for him, that unqualified Brahman appears to him in a personal form. And then he he may experience greater pleasure, just like a person experiences greater pleasure from the ice during the summer season than the normal water. So, are you understanding the argument of the Advaitavadis?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
So, Jiva Goswami's reply, we read the reply earlier with only with the verses, but the commentary. So, Jiva Goswami says that it is impossible for Brahman to manifest as Bhagavan with the help of the Upadis. Because so the question rises is, what is an Upadi? Suppose if you accept that Brahman has manifest as Bhagavan being limited with the Upadis. And now the question is, what is this Upadi? What is it made of? So Jiva Goswami says that according to the Advaitavada doctrine, an Upadi or a limiting adjunct can be either a Lipadi means a limiting adjunct. For example, say a simple crude example. Suppose you make a Mysore pak. They make a Mysore pak and then spread it into a tray. And then what will they do? They will take maybe a particular rectangle made of some, say, iron or something, and then they will make they will cut the Mysore pak using that rectangle. That rectangle is like a Upadi, and then by that several pieces of Mysore pak will come out, or several pieces of Son Papdi will come out. So that rectangular iron piece is like a Upadi. So the Advaitavadi says that the absolute truth is ultimately impersonal Brahman. Being limited by the Upadi, it has become Bhagavan. So Jiva Goswami says that according to the Advaitavada doctrine, an Upadi or a limiting agent can be either a modification of Shuddha Sattva or it can be replete with the material Sattva Guna. It can be one of it. It can be either a Upadi can be made of the Shuddha Sattva or it can be made of the Sattva Guna. So, of course, for Advaitavadis, it goes without saying that this Sattva is material. However, according to Sankhya as well as Vedanta, no modification is possible without Rajoguna. Upadi only makes a modification. It modifies the unqualified Brahman into the qualified Bhagavan. But according to the Shastra, modification cannot be made possible without the Rajoguna. So therefore, Upadis cannot be made of pure Sattva Guna. It cannot be made of pure Shuddha Sattva, because if the Upadi is made of Shuddha Sattva, then that kind of Upadi cannot modify the impersonal Brahman into Bhagavan, because modification can be possible only with the help of Rajoguna. Because there is no Rajoguna element present in the Shuddha Sattva to bring about a transformation. So, and because the Sattva of which the Upadi is constituted would in any case no longer be pure. And similarly, the Upadis could not simply have the other option is that the Upadi can be made of the abundance of Sattva Guna, the material Sattva Guna. If the Upadi is made of Shuddha Sattva, then transformation cannot be possible, because for transformation to happen, there has to be an element of Rajoguna. The Upadi is made of Shuddha Sattva, then the impersonal Brahman cannot be transformed into Bhagavan. Now the first case is ruled out. The second case. So what if the upadhi is made of the predominance of sattva guna? So in this case, so similarly, the upadhis could not simply have an abundance of sattva guna because it has been proven that the Lord's form is Shuddha Sattva and free from any mixture of the gunas. The upadhi is made of the abundance of Sattva guna. How can the Lord's form, which has resulted from limiting the impersonal Brahman by the upadhi, how can the Lord's form can be made of Shuddha Sattva if the upadhi is made of Sattva guna? The abundance would indicate a predominance of Sattva, but would still allow for a mixture of the other gunas, Rajas and Tamas. So in that case, the adjective pure would be devoid of sense. So if the upadhi is made of the abundance of sattva guna with a mixture of rajoguna and tamoguna, so how can by that upadhi we get a form which is made of shuddha sattva? It's not possible. Moreover, if it were to be accepted that the upadhis arise from an abundance of sattva guna, then it cannot apply to Brahman, as Brahman is completely free from rajas and tamas. If it were to be the upadhis were arise from an abundance of sattva guna, then it cannot apply to Brahman, as Brahman is completely free from rajas and tamas. Were this the case, there would be no possibility of the Kumaras experiencing bliss, and certainly no experience of anything beyond that, because the Kumaras were fixed in Brahman. So the another problem when the upadhi is made of abundance of sattva guna, Brahman by nature, it cannot be divided by anything. It cannot be divided. The unqualified Brahman by nature, by definition, cannot be divided. So, any upadhi cannot apply to Brahman and divide into a particular form. So in this way, Jiva Goswami is trying to, it may appear a little complicated, but as I sometimes Prabhupada said that Mayavad philosophy is so dry and it's little complicated arguments. So essentially, Jiva Goswami is arguing that according to the Advaitavada doctrine, that the Bhagavan is nothing but the Brahman limited by the upadhis. The Kumaras experience the same Brahmananda in a condensed form. Just like sometimes in the summer season, cold ice appears to be more attractive than the normal water. Similarly, sometimes when the jnani has a soft heart, a person experiences more pleasure from the form of the Lord than from the impersonal Brahman. So these are the arguments of the Advaitavada. Jiva Goswami is saying that, okay, you are saying that the Bhagavan is nothing but Brahman limited by the upadhis. So what is that upadhi made of? There are two options. The upadhi is made of Shuddha Sattva. But this cannot be possible because any transformation to happen, there has to be a Rajoguna element present. If it is made of Shuddha Sattva, then there cannot be any transformation. So the first option is ruled out. Second option, upadhi is made of the abundance of Sattva Guna. Abundance of Sattva Guna. So this has two flaws. If it is made of abundance of Sattva Guna, then how can the upadhi, which is made of material Sattva Guna, can result in the form of the Bhagavan, which is made of Shuddha Sattva? This is the first contradiction. And second contradiction, that Brahman is completely free from Rajas and Tamas. And if the upadhi has an abundance of Sattva Guna, then it cannot apply on the Brahman. which is completely free from Rajas and Tamas. In this way, he is giving two arguments. So then, in answer, what the Advaitavadis give a counter argument, they might say that the Kumaras experienced Brahman in Vishuddha Sattva while seeing the form made of the Upadis. This is certainly a very cumbersome explanation. Kumaras experienced the Brahman in Vishuddha Sattva while seeing the form made of Upadis. So the Kumaras experienced only the Brahman, Brahman, but while seeing the form made of Upadis, that they were seeing the form made of Upadis, but they experienced the unqualified Brahman only. Like the Advaitavadis is given argument. They saw the form made of Upadis, but they experienced the bliss of only Brahmananda. So this is a cumbersome explanation. Moreover, it is to be noted that these arguments are given assuming Shuddha Sattva to be material Sattva, free from passion and ignorance. So, according to Advaitavadi, they think that Shuddha Sattva means it is nothing but the material Sattva Guna, but no Rajoguna, without Rajoguna and Tamoguna. But this is impossible because the gunas are always mixed. If there is material Sattva Guna, there will also be Rajoguna and Tamoguna also be present. Bhagavad Gita 14.10, Krishna says that Rajas tamas chabibhuya tattvam bhavati bharata Rajas sattvam tamas chaiva tamas tattvam rajastata. The modes are always competing with each other. You cannot have only material Sattva Guna without Rajoguna and Tamoguna. There will be always some element of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. It was also shown earlier in Anuccheda 13. So thus there is no possibility of the guna of the pure material goodness. When the scriptures say that the Lord is made of the Vishuddha Sattva or pure goodness, this does not mean that it is constituted of the material goodness, but of the transcendental Chit potency or the Vasudeva Tattva. Tattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. So Advaitavadis also claim that just as Vashishtas, so this first paragraph is based on the argument. Advaitavadis say that Kumaras, they saw the form made of the Upadis, but they experienced the Brahman, unqualified Brahman in Vishuddha Sattva. Because their underlying understanding of the Advaitavadis is that form means it must be made of Sattva Guna or Rajoguna or Tamoguna. The form of Bhagavan is made of material Sattva Guna without the element of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. That is what the Advaitavadis think. They have no understanding of the Vishuddha Sattva, which is a spiritual counterpart of the material Sattva Guna. Then the Advaitavadis also claim, just like Vashishta lamented over the demise of his sons. But Vashishta's lamentation is not real because Vashishta is a liberated soul. Similarly, the attraction of the Kumaras to the Lord's form is not real. It's a more illusory thing. It's active. It's more like an active, or it's not a real thing. The story of Vashishta is described in the Mahabharata. His 100 sons were eaten by King Kalmashapada, who had been possessed by a demoniac Kinkara by the arrangement of Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra and Vasishta had Vishwamitra developed an enmity with Vashishta, and Vishwamitra he used Kalmashapada to kill the 100 sons of Vashishta. So that time Vashishta started lamenting and he tried to commit suicide many times. I think the story comes in Mahabharata Adi Parva. But he failed. So Advaitavadis say that since Vashishta was a Brahman realized, his grief could not have been real. Similarly, the attraction of the Kumaras to the Lord's form could not be real, since the Brahman realized beings are beyond attachment, beyond lamentation and illusion. So this explanation certainly contradicts the direct experience of the Kumaras. Because in their prayer, which we already went through, their prayer they mentioned that let our minds remain attached to the Lord's lotus feet, just like the bumblebees, the flowers. So if the Lord's form had been only a product of the Upadhis, they would not have prayed in this manner, as they had no attraction to material objects. Their prayers do not indicate that they experienced impersonal realization by seeing the Lord. Were it so, they would not go down before Him and pray for devotion. Obeisances are offered only when one considers oneself distinct from form and inferior to the object of worship. So, anybody has any questions? Then
Prabhuji,
yes.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, this Advaitavadi's argument that Vasishtha Rishi was not he was not lamenting, it was not real. But he tried to commit suicide, so it was real lamentation, right? But for the sake of argumenting, they are making an argument like,
Yes.
yeah, okay, okay, Prabhu.
Okay. So the last section of the anuccheda. What is that? Yes, only when it's paragraph. Okay, Vasishtadinam Ataiva. I think this paragraph. Tasman Mayukopadhi Nirhinatvad Deyamshataya Pratibhatatvacha Na Tajatiyam Sukam Api अन्यजातीयं कर्तुं शक्नोति इति सन्तु एव अन्यथा अनुपपत्तिसिद्धायाः स्वरूपशक्तेरेव विलासाः. Sorry, this is the till this is completed. Apicha, from this we have to start. Apicha astu tavat jivanmukta dashayam tanmate vidyopadi प्रतिफलितस्यैव सतो ब्रह्मणः सकाशात् श्री भगवतो गणप्रकाशता सर्वोपाधि विनिर्मुक्तं मुक्तिदशायामपि साक्षात् तादृश तास्त्येव इति सुव्यक्तं नात्यन्तिकं विगणयन्त्यपिते प्रसादम् इत्यादौ. So apicha astu. So that means they are saying that furthermore, let us acknowledge for a moment the view that it is specifically in the state of living liberation. So there is a state of living liberation called as Jivan Mukti. That means in this world, while living in this world, a person is liberated, but that is called as a Jivan Mukti. So for a moment, let us acknowledge that in the state of Jivan Mukti, the Lord's form, which is reflected in the upadhi of knowledge, is more densely luminous than Brahman. So now Jiva Goswami is saying that suppose let us accept the Advaitavadi's view that the Lord's form is, which is made of the upadhis, it is more densely luminous than the Brahman, but this kind of realization happens in the Jivan Mukti stage. But then, suppose if you accept this view, but then the Kumaras, what did they pray? They said that Natyantikam Viganayant Apite Prasadam. They said that we do not regard the Na Atyantikam. We do not regard the ultimate liberation as your mercy. We do not regard even the ultimate liberation as your mercy. So that statement explicitly reveals that even in the state of final liberation, known as the Videha Mukti, so Jivan Mukti is a state of living liberation stage. But there is a Videha Mukti, or liberation from the embodied existence. So that prayer of the four Kumaras reveal that then even in the state of final liberation, that is Videha Mukti, which is completely free from all upadhis, the Lord's form is considered superior to the unqualified Brahman. Because otherwise the Kumaras would not have stated that we do not give regard even to the ultimate liberation, Videha Mukti. Suppose if the Advaitavadis say that whatever Kumaras experience only is they experience only in the Jivan Mukti. But once when they actually get Videha Mukti, they will not be going after the personal form of the Lord. They will be only going after the unqualified Brahman. But then this kind of viewpoint is not supported by the Kumaras. As Kumaras mentioned in their prayer, that we do not regard the ultimate liberation in the unqualified Brahman as your mercy. We do not give regard to that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Please, can you explain that Videha Mukti and Jivan Mukta, that stages?
Yeah, Jivan Mukti is like when a person is living in this world. He is having a material body, but is practically liberated. Like a Prabhupada gives an example, suppose a coconut, sometimes a coconut, when you shake it, you can see you can feel the sound. That means the coconut is inside the shell, but it is not in contact with the shell. Therefore, you are feeling the sound, the coconut moving inside. Like when a person is affected by the material body, when a person is attached to the material body, when a person is affected by the bodily situation, that is like a coconut which is attached to the shell. But when a person is in the material body, but is liberated from the body, as a Jivan Mukti stage, that is like the coconut which is disconnected from the shell. But it is within the shell. It is within the shell, but it is disconnected from the shell. That is like the Jivan Mukti stage. Videha Mukti is like a person is liberated from the material body, he has gone to the spiritual realm. When the coconut has come out of the shell, it's come out of the shell. That is like that we can explain. So Advaitavadis say that, okay, whatever Kumara's experience, it is applicable only in the Jivan Mukti stage. It is only applicable in the Jivan Mukti stage, they experience the form of the Lord to be superior to the Brahmananda. But it is not applicable in the Videha Mukti. Like that, the Advaitavadis may give an argument. But then the counter argument is that the Kumaras, they specifically mentioned that we don't give regard even for the Videha Mukti, the ultimate liberation. We don't consider that as your mercy. You understood?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, but I understand that the Videha Mukti is much superior to the Jivan Mukti. But in contrast, if you look at it, both are same. But they are
No.
beyond the gunas.
Jivan Mukti, a person is within the material body, but for practical purposes, is not affected by the body. Videka Mukti, this person he has given up the material body. He is no longer has a material body. He has gone to the spiritual realm. That is Videka
Yes.
Mukti.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Just like Prabhu, like the Maharaj Jada Bharat case, so he was like, can we say like in a Jivan Mukta, he was in the body but not affected. Because when the Dakara tried to kill him, so he was not affected.
Being within the material body but not affected by the body. That is Jivan Mukta.
Yeah. And
Even that,
Vitrasuri was already liberated. That even when the Indra was cutting his throat, like he was already gone from. Yeah.
Yeah, we can say that. Yeah.
Actually, there are many examples of Jivan Mukta in Bhagavatam. In fact, all cases are Jivan Muktas only. Many cases. That Avadut Brahman, many times we come across.
Yes.
So,
of course, here in this connection, he is speaking from the point of view of the impersonal understanding of liberation. But Jivan Mukta, being within the body, but not affected by the body, not affected by the situations around. Although one is in the material world, Avadut Brahmana, as you mentioned, Vritrasura, Indra was cutting him. That's also a right example. Vritrasura was not affected. Jada Bharat's example. People were throwing, his brothers were throwing some food which is meant for the horse to the Jada Bharat. But Jada Bharat was completely unaffected. They were making him, forcing him to actually carry the palanquin. He was not unaffected. He was unaffected. So another example is that coconut within the shell, but it is disconnected from the shell. That's like the Jivan Mukta. Videha Mukta is like coconut has come out of the shell. The person has come out of the material body. Next. Atayev Yaha Kachidapi Jalpati Jnanakarayam Premakarayam cha Chitta Vrittau Brahma Prakashate Tatra tu Uttarasyam Upadi Vaishishthyat Prakasha Vaishishtyam Ityatraiva Purushartha Saratvam Tatrochyate iti Tadapi Swayameva Bahishkritam. What's the meaning? From this, it must be concluded that the superiority of the Lord's form cannot at all be accounted for on the basis of the upadhis. So the superiority of the Lord's form is not on the basis of the upadhis. Therefore, if someone makes the absurd claim that Brahman appears both in the mind states shaped by knowledge and in those shaped by love, but that the later manifestation is superior due to the superiority of the upadhi, which is the same reason why scriptures sometimes refer to prema as the essence of the human goals. Such claims are inherently without validity. So some people, the Advaitavadis, they give an argument. They give interpretation because the Bhagavatam repeatedly says that the highest goal, Purushartha Shiromani, is the prema. Bhagavatam does not mention the highest goal of human life as the mukti. Bhagavatam mentions the highest goal as prema. So the Advaitavadis say that Brahman appears both in the mind states shaped by knowledge and also the mind which is shaped by love. But when the later, that means the mind is shaped by love, that manifestation is superior due to the superiority of the upadhi, which is the same reason that sometimes the scriptures glorify prema as higher than mukti. But this kind of interpretation by Advaitavadis is invalid. Consequently, there is no question of a gradation in the upadhis. Tasman na upadhi taratamya chinta bhavatah katayaha ityanena nirupadi brahma bhuyad uparicha vaichitri sputameva asau svikrita. So there is no question of a gradation in the upadhis. So that means so in the 3.15.48, diversity existing beyond the upadhi free state of Brahman realization has clearly been accepted. So there is a diversity in the spiritual platform. That diversity is accepted, which is very clear from the prayers of the Kumaras. Diversity existing beyond the upadhi free state of Brahman has clearly been accepted. So then now Jiva Goswami is giving a conclusion. Tasmat Santaranga Vaibhavasya Bhagavatah Sukaika Rupatvam Tad Rupatvepi Brahmatopi Ganaprakashatvam Swarupa Shakti Vilasa Vaichitri Cheti Vidvat Anubhava Pramanena Nirnitam. So he's giving the conclusion. In conclusion, on the authority of the experience of these learned sages, the four Kumaras, we can say Bhagavan and his internal potencies are purely blissful, internal opulences. Being so, they are condensed luminosity, Gana Prakashatvam, surpassing even that of Brahman. Third, the transcendental variety is a manifestation of Bhagavan's Sarupa Shakti. Bhagavatah Sukaika Rupatvam Tad Rupatvepi Brahmatopi Gana Prakashatvam Sarupa Shakti Vilasa Vaichitri Chaiti Vidvat Anubhava Pramanena Nirnitam. So these three conclusions are established by the experience of the four Kumaras. And then he is giving few other quotations. Tatra Mukta api leelaya vigraham kritva bhagavantam bhajante. Bhavartha Deepika Bhashya Krita Sarvajnasya Vachanam iti. So he's quoting a shloka from the Narsimha Tapani Upanishad. The commentary on Narsimha Tapani Upanishad this verse is quoted. Bhagavan, who is worshipped by all the gods, by all those desiring liberation, and by all the adherents of Brahmavada. Even those who are Brahmavadis, they worship Bhagavan. Even those who are liberated, they worship Bhagavan. And then further, Shankaracharya says, Yam sarve deva amananti mumukshavo brahmavadinascha ityatra shrutau advaitavada guravo api. The guru of the Advaitavadi, that is Shankaracharya, he is saying, he is quoting the shloka from the Narasimha Upanishad. What is the shloka? Liberated beings also take suitable forms to worship the Lord. Yam sarve deva amananti mumukshavo brahmavadinascha mukta api leelaya vigraham kritva bhagavantam bhajante. And then Krishna, I think this mukta api leelaya vigraham kritva bhagavantam bhajante. This is, I think, from Narasimha Upanishad. Yam sarve deva amananti mumukshu brahmavadinascha. That should come before, I think. Maybe let us see. Krishno muktairijyate vita mohaihi iti Mahabharate. And he's giving a third quotation from Mahabharata. Sri Krishna is worshipped by the liberated beings who are free from delusion. Liberated beings also worship Sri Krishna. Muktairijyate vita mohaihi. And then he's quoting fourth quotation from the Bhagavad Gita. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati tamas sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate para. So bhakti begins at the Brahma bhuta stage, which is free from hankering and lamentation. Because according to Advaitavada doctrine, they may practice bhakti, but till you attain liberation, after that you give up bhakti. That is their understanding. Then till you attain liberation, you practice bhakti and then you give up bhakti. But all these quotations show that even in the liberated stage, they continues to practice bhakti. Muktanam bhaktirhi nityananda swarupini iti bharata tatparye pramanita shrutischa. In the Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya, written by Madhvacharya, he quotes a Shruti Vakya, Veda Vakya. Even for liberated beings, bhakti alone is the embodiment of eternal bliss. And then Madhvacharya quotes in his Vedanta Sutra Bhashya, Tata aprayanat tatrapihi drishtam. This is the Brahma Sutra 4.1.12. Ityatra cha Madhva Bhashya Pramanita Sauparna Shrutihi. In the Bhashya to this Vedanta Sutra, Madhvacharya quotes what is called as a Sauparna Shruti. In that it is mentioned that Sarva Dainam Upasita Yavan Mukti Mukta Khenam Upasate iti. It is seen that the Lord is worshipped both before and after liberation. Sarva Dainam Upasita Yavan Mukti Mukta Khenam Upasate. So Yavan Mukti, that means till a person attains liberation, and Mukta, and after attaining liberation. In both cases, Lord is worshipped. So these quotations are contrary to the Advaitavada doctrine, which say that till you attain liberation, you worship the Lord. You may practice bhakti. But after that, you become one with the impersonal Brahman. Then you don't have to practice bhakti. So these quotations refute that. Atayeva Shri Prahlada Bali Prabhriti Mahabhagavata Sambandham Abhipretya Shri Vishnu Purane api uktam. He is quoting from Vishnu Purana. Patale kasyana pritir विमुक्तस्यापि जायते इति श्री ब्रह्मा देवान्. So he also quotes in the Bhashya to Vedanta Sutra 4.1.12 Sauparna Shruti. It is always seen that the Lord is worshipped both before and after liberation. So always worship him until liberation, and is worshipped particularly by the liberated beings. Sarvadainam upasita yavan mukti muktihyenam upasata. Therefore, with reference to the association of the great devotees, such as Prahlad and Bali Maharaj, Vishnu Puran also states, who is that liberated person who would not feel love for Patala, the lower planet where such great devotees reside? Means the liberated persons also love the Patala, Sutala Loka especially, because the great devotees reside there. That is why Chaitanya Charitamrita gives a beautiful shloka. What is that shloka? Krishna Bhakti. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Haya Sadhu Sangha Krishna Prema Janmeteho Puna Mukyanga. The root cause of devotional service is the Sadhu Sangha. And even when a person has attained Prema, love for Krishna, the association of devotees is still most essential. So therefore this Vishnu Puran shloka is quite appropriate. Who is the liberated person who would not feel love for the Sutala Loka, where great devotees like Prahlad and Bali reside? So, commentary. In this section, we'll just complete in another 5 minutes. Jiva Goswami examines a line of argument put forth by the Advaitvada interpreters. They claim that it is only in the state of living liberation that Bhagavan is perceived as the condensed Brahman, because he is a manifestation of Brahman in the Upadhi of Vidya. But when one gives up the body, however, and realizes himself to be Brahman, there is no such pronounced attraction for Bhagavan. This is the argument of the Advaitavadis. But the Kumaras were certainly Jivan Mukta, thus, therefore, it was possible for them to be attracted to the Lord. So, this argument is soundly defeated by the Kumara statement that they do not consider the ultimate liberation as the mercy of the Lord. Natyantikam viganayant apite prasadam. So, they consider bhakti as the only real mercy of the Lord. So, they are willing to suffer in hell but do not care for the impersonal liberation. So, Jiva Goswami counters yet another argument by the Advaitavadis. Brahman manifests in the pure heart when it is imbued either with love or with knowledge. This position is presented by the Madhusudan Saraswati. Madhusudan Saraswati is one person from the Advaitvada Sampradaya, a very great scholar, highly respected person, Madhusudan Saraswati. Sometimes Vishwanath Chakravarti has quoted those portions of Madhusudan Saraswati's commentary which are in line with the pure devotional service. Those sections he has quoted in the Bhagavad Gita. So Madhusudan Saraswati says that Brahman manifests in the pure heart when it is imbued either with love or with knowledge. So Madhusudan Saraswati writes in the Sri Bhagavad Bhakti Rasayana, Dravi Bhava Purvika hi Manaso Bhagavat Akarata Sa Vikalpaka Vritti Rupa Bhakti Dravi Bhavanupeta Dviti Yatma Matra Gochara Nirvikalpaka Manovrittir Brahma Vidya. So Savikalpaka Vritti and Nirvikalpaka Vritti. So what is the meaning? When the heart melts and the mind is molded into the shape of the Lord, that determinated state of mind is called bhakti. But when one experiences non-dual Brahman without the melting of the heart, that indeterminate stage of the mind is called Brahma Vidya. Madhusan Saraswati, how he has defined bhakti and Brahma Vidya. So this is one of the argument of the Advaitavadis. When the Brahman manifests in the pure heart, when it is imbued with love or with knowledge, either with love or with knowledge. So one state is called bhakti, another state is called Brahma Vidya. The import is that one Brahman appears differently in the hearts of different people, with and without upadhis. Such a proposal is refuted by the earlier categorical repudiation of the upadhis as a basis for Bhagavan realization. This definition of bhakti is purely a mental speculation and not supported by any scripture. So Bhagavan realization is not a change in the material mind. Nor is bhakti a particular mental state. Bhagavan realization is not a change in the material mind. Bhagavan realization is not a change in the material mind, nor is bhakti a particular mental state. Krishna says that mental vrittis are modifications in the material body. The 13.7 mental states are nothing but the modification in the material body. On the other hand, bhakti is devoid of all the upadhis. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So according to this Madhusudan Saraswati, that when a person realizes the Brahman with the upadhis, and because of that the heart melts, that state of the heart is called bhakti. But the point is that these mental states, bhakti is not simply a mental state. Bhagavan realization is not a change in the material mind. Bhakti is not a particular mental state. Because mental states are modifications in the material body. Bhakti is a state where a person becomes free from all the upadhis, sarvopadi vinirmuktam. So bhakti is unalloyed service to the Lord and master of the unalloyed service to the Lord and the master of the senses, conducted through the medium of the senses, which is free from all types of upadhis and devoid of all impurity through complete dedication to him. Which verse is quoted? Sarvopadi vinirmuktam. Thus it is clear from the praise of the Kumaras that the Lord is inherently self-endowed with the internal potency. And the bliss experienced from that internal potency is superior to the Brahmananda. Sri Sarvagya Muni, a prominent teacher in the line of Shankaracharya, thus wrote in his commentary on the Narasimha Upanishad, liberated beings also take suitable forms to worship the Lord. Jiva Goswami concludes with a number of quotations to show that even liberated persons take pleasure in devotional service to Bhagavan. So many quotations he showed. Brahma Bhuta Prasanna Atma, Vishnu Purana Shloka, and then the Sauparna Shruti quoted by Madhvacharya in the commentary to Vedanta Sutra. So in conclusion, the following points have been made in this section. This is the conclusion of the entire 79th anuccheda, which we have been discussing since several weeks. Bhakti Ananda is superior to Brahmananda. If you understand this conclusion, there's the complete summary of the entire anuccheda. Second is that even liberated beings are attracted by devotional service. Third, Bhagavan's body, abode, attributes, ornaments, associates, and paraphernalia are transcendental and manifestations of his Swarupa Shakti. Fourth, Bhagavan's form is not a product of upadhis in Brahman. Fifth, Vishuddha Sattva means the Chit potency. Sixth, Bhakti is not a mental state. Advaitavadis say that Bhakti is nothing but an emotional state, emotional mental state. But Bhakti is the internal potency of the Lord. Bhakti is not simply a mental state. These are the conclusions of this entire anuccheda. So next class will begin the 80th anuccheda. Anybody has any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. The last point that the liberated souls also take different shapes or different form of a body to worship the Lord. So how do we define that? Are they capable of taking different bodies? Number one. Number two, or the worship is prominent here, so whatever shape they get it, they worship the Lord. How do we understand that?
Liberated souls, they accept the Advaitavada understanding of liberation is that you ultimately get rid of your form and merge with the unqualified Brahman. But these quotations show that liberated souls are eager to worship the form of the Lord. They accept a body, they accept a spiritual body, the spiritual world, to worship the form of the Lord. And they are willing to accept even a material body in this world, but to worship the form of the Lord. That is this one. How the liberated souls are attracted towards bhakti. They want to worship the form of the Lord. It is not contrary to the Advaitavada understanding. The you practice bhakti only till liberation. After that, you give up bhakti. But these quotations show that how the liberated souls are also attracted to bhakti. They want to worship the form of the Lord. And in order to worship the form of the Lord, they are eager to accept spiritual body or a material body, but they mainly want to worship the form of the Lord. Just like the Kumaras say that we don't mind taking birth in hell, provided we can hear chant and remember you perform devotional service.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Very nice. Yes. The class was very good. Very excellent class, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
So this is, it may appear like we may not have encountered somebody. Sometimes we may wonder that why it is Jiva Goswami Acharyas very minutely defeating the Advaitavada doctrine. But the Advaitavadis, as said, they are within the house of Vedas. They are very strict followers of the Vedas. But then the Advaitavada philosophy, they may even follow bhakti, but their understanding is that bhakti is to be followed in the Vyavaharika world, in the Vyavaharika world. The Paramarthika sense, the Paramarthika level, so they say that in the Vyavaharika world, there is difference between Atma and Paramatma. But in Paramarthika level, there is no difference between Atma and Paramatma. In the Paramarthika level, there is only one Atma. Because every Atma becomes merged into the unqualified Brahma. In the Paramarthika level. In the Vyavaharika level, we may practice bhakti. Because it is easier to practice. But once a person attains liberation in the Paramarthika level, he will give a practice of bhakti. So this is the Advaitavada doctrine that is very So this idea is actually refuted by the Jiva Goswami. Correct. We'll stop here. There are no more questions. Next week, we'll continue. We have how many anuchedas left? 80 to 102. 23 anuchedas are left. They will not be as long as the 79th anucheda. Few are little longer, but a very interesting. Srimad Bhagavatam is a complete scripture, and other interesting things are there. We will go through it. Next week we'll start with the 80th. Okay. ग्रंथरा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री
जय
प्रभुपाद की जय,
जय
गौर भक्त वृंद की जय.
जय हरे
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
दंडवत प्रणाम.